What's going on, everybody? It is another episode of the Mainly Broncos podcast. There was no 5280 podcast because I don't know if you've been following much stuff that's been going on around the Broncos. There really isn't a whole lot of news, except for one that just so happened to break yesterday. In terms of the meeting between coaches and the owners and everything else like that. But also, too, there's a certain trade, and so we kind of figured that we might as well talk about how that trade affects the roster a little bit more, and then we take a little bit of a dive on something that ended up being chaos, for a lot of people at Broncos country. And what better person to talk about it than Marquee Sports Denver? I mean, this is your first time being on mainly. You and I've done shows before. It was actually when I hopped on with Horsepower Hour with David and you guys, and that was a phenomenal show. Everybody needs to go check that out. So thanks for hopping on, Marky, and this is the first time on Mainly.
Yeah, man, I'm honored. Appreciate it. Definitely long overdue, and I got to get you. We gotta do a few more of these collabs, man. But super excited to be here with you guys and talk some ball, man.
Brandon, you doing all right?
I'm doing great, man. Besides the fact that we are in the month of the draft, I am still just knee deep in feeling like I'm in the off season, and I need some kind of like tangible football in my life. So the fact that I woke up today and it was April 1st, aside from the shenanigans of April, I don't know why that did that. And the Aaron Rodgers thing that we're not even going to talk about because we all know what that is, and I don't even want to give more time to that than is necessary. But I'm doing well. Like I'm ready for there to be something that happens this month that is football related other than like the Jalen Waddle trade. And so even though we don't have that many draft picks, like it's gonna be a fun time. So I'm doing well.
We probably should lead off with maybe that April Fool's joke that apparently isn't an April Fool's joke according to Mike Florio. If you are rolling with an idea, that you believe is a very credible idea that just so happens to be on the day of April Fool's and you're actually running with it. And for as good as you are as a reporter, I'm very much questioning your idea of journalism. If you think this particular story of the Broncos and Aaron Rodgers is very much a thing in the year of 2026 and a year where Nathaniel Hackett is no longer in the building, Marky. So your initial thoughts just briefly on the April Fool's story that apparently was an actual story.
Yeah, it's funny, man, because I didn't even know that was the thing until Mike Kliss had tweeted about it.
Neither did I, yeah.
He said, I don't know who reported it or what, but yeah, I wasn't falling for any of that stuff, man. I hate April Fools, and I was kind of hoping I didn't think the Broncos were going to make any moves or there'd be any kind of splash moves, but I feel like if teams did, they just would not report it today. They would wait until tomorrow, or if they could have reported it yesterday, they would, because it's always one of those things where everyone's kind of on their toes. But definitely the worst unofficial holiday, I would say, of all of them. It doesn't get much more annoying than April Fools. Like, when do you think we can move on as a country of like, you know what, April Fools isn't a thing anymore, so it could just be a normal day? You think that'll ever happen?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. What did I say in the Discord chat that we have is it's sad that the Rob Gronkowski links that were happening probably had a little bit more legs to that idea than the actual Aaron Rodgers.
Big time. Yeah, big time.
I don't know. I don't know where he got it, like where Florio got the legs of that story. But going forward, and obviously you double down on it, but going forward, you might want to check where these things are coming from just a little bit more for as good as you are in the business.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
But
yeah, I mean...
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I mean, the Rob Gronkowski thing at that point, like it was, I wasn't even like excited about it. I was like, at least it's intriguing. Like, damn, that'd be kind of cool to see. You know, we were in such a more desperate time.
Yeah.
Which I think we still are from a tight end standpoint. Right? It's not like much has changed there, but yeah, I mean, to like at least make it a little bit believable, right? Like of all the teams, you know, the Broncos, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, yeah, it's asinine, man. It's crazy.
Right.
Dude, it's just so stupid. Like, I'm just gonna ignore all NFL reporting that happens on April 1st from now on, which I don't want to do because, you know, again, it's the start of draft month, so I want to be excited, but no, that's just it was stupid. I mean, you know what? It worked. It got clicks. That's the point of it. Like, it's clearly an attention grab, and it played. So cool, good for you. But let's move on.
Yep.
By the way, speaking of, I will say, I think I even tweeted along the lines because like April Fools, at least for Bronco fans, probably doesn't actually have as much notoriety until the certain year where Vaughn like tweeted when he was with the Broncos that he had been traded, right? And so of course, what is the one thing he does on April Fools today? He tweets that he signed with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh, did he? I was gonna ask if he did something because
yeah.
I remember like every year he'd do the same thing. Eventually, you were just like, "All right, Vaughn, we get it, dude. Like, I love you and all, but it's getting old." But that's funny. Yeah, he's a big April Fool's guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. But it's funny because I tweeted something along the lines of like it would have been something. And this was like, I don't know, an hour before the thing broke between Aaron Rodgers. But it was like it would have been quite funny if this was the day where Vaughn actually broke the news. You know, given the story we're about to break down with Jonah Ellis, it would have been very funny if Vaughn teases that he actually is signing a deal back with the Denver Broncos on April Fools. You know, and a day after the Jonah Ellis moving to inside linebacker or getting snaps at inside linebacker.
Yep.
So it would have been very, very fitting.
Yeah,
the thing is, I think Vaughn actually wants to come back. So I don't think he would even do that to himself. He wouldn't do that to Broncos country and say like I'm coming back and it'd be an April Fool's thing because I think he actually wants it to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd definitely believe that more than the Aaron Rodgers thing. I'll tell you that.
Well, I think that's why like it's probably one where it's like, okay, this probably would have been also fitting to knowing his history and everything that he's done. You know, with the Broncos and the April Fools. All right. Speaking of why the Vaughn and stuff probably actually probably could have happened a little bit, or probably still is in the works. Marky is yesterday at the owners' meetings. Owners' meetings where George Payton himself was actually even in presence. Sean Payton broke a bit of a bombshell, saying that Jonah Ellis will be transitioning. Well, not transition, but be taking snaps, not full-time snaps, but just snaps at inside linebacker. Now, to preface this, the Ellis family is rich with inside linebacker snaps, inside linebacker play, two of which, Jonah himself is quite familiar with, Caden Ellis and Christian Ellis. Christian Ellis, as we know, is the linebacker the Broncos played in the AFC Championship game as a member of the New England Patriots. And, of course, Caden Ellis, who has ties not just to Jonah Ellis, but Sean Payton himself as a draft pick in the 7th round, who happened to be a free agent in the offseason of 2026 and decided not to sign with the Denver Broncos and decided to sign with the New Orleans Saints again, funny enough. So, Marky, your initial chaos type of comment, if you will, reaction to the Sean Payton, Jonah Ellis going to inside linebacker for some of those snaps.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely no chaos in my brain. To be honest, the first thing I thought of was this dude is BSing, man. He is trying to like throw a bone out there and take some of the Broncos' attention off of their interest in drafting a linebacker. But if it happens to actually be true, I mean, it's funny because he did say it, shortly after or maybe even before, or, he did it at separate times, like completely ripping the media and talking about how, as fans, we need to be patient, and they're smart and they know what they're doing and they're smarter than us and all that kind of stuff, which honestly, I love it, man. Like I like it when Sean's kind of in a crabby mood, but I think it's one of those where he's, maybe trying to amp us up a little bit too. But if he was being serious about Jonah Ellis taking some snaps at inside linebacker, I think it would be a terrible mistake, a terrible decision. It would make no sense to me because you didn't address the position at all. You just brought back your two guys, talked about how much you loved them and how great they were for the room, and that, they're Broncos and they're fantastic and all this stuff to try to, sell us on the idea of Sternad and Singleton. And if you love them so much, then why the hell would you utilize a very valuable player that's a really good rotational edge rusher, still really young, to take him away from what we know is a strength, to play snaps at a position that he's never played before, might not even be good at it. And so yeah, it would be awful if he was being serious. But I really did from the beginning think that it was just a big smokescreen before the draft, and I would be pretty surprised, man, if they use Jonah Ellis at inside linebacker really in any way.
Yeah. Brandon?
I don't know how I feel about this move, if this does end up being the move. On the one hand, I understand, I get it. I do think Jonah Ellis, he's athletic enough to be a linebacker. I think he could potentially be a good linebacker. My two biggest concerns with this is, one, I don't know if I trust Vance Joseph to be the person to transition him to, like, effectively transition him to linebacker in this defense, because he doesn't seem to know how to do it. Like, he doesn't really have like a track record of this kind of move swap. And he also does have a track record of not knowing what to do with super athletic linebackers that kind of move or play inside. See 2 first-round draft picks in a row in the Arizona Cardinals tenure that he had with Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons. So I don't know. On the one hand, I get it because I think he does have the ability to do it. And he also, like, it's kind of a crowded room. He's not been on the field that much. I mean, I think he played like less than 30% of the defensive snaps for us last year. So like he definitely is like a rotational player at edge right now. But I think that you can't have too much depth at edge. So I don't know if I necessarily want to see us lose that kind of rotational piece. Now, if it's just like we want to get him on the field more, he's going to stick with that, 30% rotational edge rusher, but we're going to try to get him out there for, 10 more snaps a game, and we're going to put him in at linebacker sometimes. I guess I can see it. Again, I think he has the ability to do it. My biggest question just comes down to, like, why? Because there's so many good linebackers that you can get in this draft class that can fill that need better, I think, than moving Jonah Ellis there. So it's a little weird. Personally, I don't know if I think it's a good idea. I get it if you're just trying to get Jonah Ellis on the field more, but I have questions.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, and that was, I think, what, Mark, you were kind of talking about was, like, I feel like the caveat is, and there were a fair amount of Bronco fans that I even saw that mentioned this, but I think it's fair, is if this is the move, right? Like, if this is the move that they make in a year where it's a very loaded draft class, and they ended up moving Jonah Ellis to inside linebacker, I would definitely be worried, and and there's some definite questions. And I think the fact that he did say it's not full-time, right? Like it sounded like, at least on the initial side of things, like we'll move and have him take some snaps at inside linebacker. So the fact that it's not full-time at least gives me a little bit of some positive. And even off the initial side of things, like there is probably one person that this directly impacts in that linebacker room. And it's not, and it's frankly a player who, if you're a Broncos fan, probably hasn't existed in the last couple of years because he's been on the injured list, and that would be Drew Sanders. This definitely, I would say, affects him the most out of anything. But I mean, he's still a relatively young player. Jonah is. So if you are to do something like this, well, with tinkering him for just a little bit, is probably still in that rookie deal, if you will, and so he's still relatively young. Um, but I think that's also that's the caveat when it comes back to it is if they are still planning on adding a player in the NFL draft at linebacker, then okay, we can roll with that. We can roll with this idea of Jonah Ellis actually, getting some of these inside linebacker snaps, because I do wonder with the opportunities and the stuff that they might actually give him on defense with some of those, say, Drew Sanders snaps, I got to think it's going to end up being some pass rush, downhill snaps, aka maybe some Alex Singleton opportunities in the future down the line. So is this actually more so a future Alex Singleton replacement? And then going forward, that's when you can kind of look at maybe some of the ideas of the more athletic off-ball players like a Jake Galde or a Kyle Lewis at that position, maybe even a Harold Perkins, to maybe play alongside of him and groom those players, once Sternad's deal comes up.
I mean, I don't know. For me, in no way does it actually make sense. Like, I never believed in taking away from a strength, and then also putting somebody in a position where it could be a weakness. It's kind of like the same thing. Like, we used to drive me crazy about Vance Joseph when he was the head coach here, man, is he would make Von Miller drop back in coverage so many times. And Von Miller wasn't really all that good in coverage, or he's not going to be able to cover, an elite linebacker or somebody out of the backfield. And so what you're doing now is you're like hurting yourself in two ways. And I know Jonah's not Von Miller, but it's like sure. Kind of the same kind of strategy on it is like, okay, so you're taking Von Miller away from rushing the passer, which is going to hurt your defense. And then you're putting him in a position where he's going to be very vulnerable, which is now going to hurt your defense again. So it's like a double whammy. And I think what makes this Broncos defense so incredibly special is that we have 4 edge rushers that are starting caliber edge rushers in the NFL. In obviously Bonito, Cooper, Ellis, and Dondrea Tillman. And honestly, Q Robinson is looking like he's really promising to me. He played a lot in the championship game. He looked good. And so it's like, why mess with that room? It's perfect. Like, in every way. Why even mess with it and not address the elephant in the room and develop a linebacker like you should have been doing for the last couple of years rather than just some UDFA guy. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, I personally think it's going to ultimately be a non-story. But it'll be fascinating if it becomes one. It'll be fascinating if it becomes one, because then it's like, okay, he better be damn good, because you don't hear like situations that often where someone goes from playing edge to playing linebacker. You don't hear about it happen much in general in the NFL. And when you do, it's always an absolute, like, it never works. It never works. Yeah. It never even works for guys that are like edge players in college, i.e. Drew Sanders. And then they were full-time off-ball linebackers. Usually they were hybrids, but even then making that transition to the league is just crazy. I mean, it's rare that a position change like that from those two positions translates to be a good thing. So, but we'll see. It's definitely fascinating.
The one thing I will say here that, again, I guess I could see the vision a little bit, is if this is some kind of like pseudo NASCAR package where you're trying to get Q Robinson on the field more as well, and you're trying to get just kind of these really more explosive players that you have on your defense that haven't been able to do much for you because they're kind of buried on the depth chart, getting them more snaps, and you're putting Ellis in at linebacker, but like he's there to rush the passer, but he's doing it from like the linebacker spot, and you're trying to get Q Robinson on the field. Like, again, I see how that I get that, but I don't know. I'm curious to see like how this actually plays out, because this could be something that's like, oh yeah, we said in the end of March that we're going to play him at linebacker, and he plays like 30 snaps at linebacker over the season, and they're all like obvious pass rush situations, and they're trying to get like Robinson on the field more. Like it could be that. It could be like, we know we need to upgrade the linebacker spot, and we think he can do it. that's where I have doubts, serious doubts about the validity of that strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's so many other ways you could go. There were linebackers in free agency that you did not sign or didn't even pursue. There's a lot of linebackers in this draft that you can go after. So I really want to know what they actually do with this, because that'll inform like how I feel about it. Hearing it right now, I'm like, okay, I guess I get it in some situations, like I already talked about. But if it's like legitimately like we need help at linebacker and he's going to do it, no, I'm out. I'm out on that. But I do think there are possibilities where it could make sense.
Yeah,
well, and
no doubt.
Yeah, and I think that some of those possibilities kind of go back to what Sean was referencing, and I think that that's the thing is like the fact that for as much as the Vance Joseph thing is very warranted, like Brandon, you and I have talked about that at ad nauseum. How often some of these, and even Mark, like we talk about every so often whenever you get these freak athletes that are just like. Surely Vance will love these players, but then all of a sudden he'll come to a certain squad and it's not going to work out. Zaven Collins, the Isaiah Simmons of the world, right? Like, just they don't know where to play them because they're so athletic. And that's probably one of the rightful arguments for a guy like a Kyle Lewis, right? A safety turn linebacker. What are they going to do with him? Are they actually going to find a rightful place for it? In that point, I think for me, it's like if there's anything that probably would have credence in the right direction for maybe why this would work, it's that, or a couple reasons is probably what we mentioned in the beginning is that it's in his DNA. His brothers at least have a good idea of playing that position that will help in his transition, right? And Caden and Christian. So he at least has that in his corner of two brothers that know how to play that position. And I think there's probably one player that I think argumentatively under Sean, we've seen an edge player convert a little bit to inside linebacker or off-ball linebacker, that being Zach Bond. Because it's funny, you were talking, Mark, about an edge player, becoming a little bit more of an off-ball, maybe even an inside linebacker, and that was Zach Bond. Like at Wisconsin, he was I would just say he was like that edge player, outside linebacker, almost like he was even, I think, the player that was even playing at times opposite of TJ Watt at Wisconsin, and he turned himself to be one of the best off-ball linebackers now, in the NFL. Right. And obviously a player that was between the Eagles and the Broncos as far as wanting to sign in Denver. So, I mean, there's at least, it's not a lot, right? Like there's not a lot of stories, but if there is one, it's definitely one where Sean was trying to bring to light, like, hey, this did happen with Zach Bond. And he outlined that, like, we were trying to figure out a best way to get him on the field. And the best way we could get Zach Bond on the field was this positional change.
Yeah, that's a good point. I honestly wasn't even familiar with the background too much about Zach Bond. But again, it's like those things are so few and far in between. I don't know what he was like as a player in college. I don't know how much, if he was a tweener. Did he play some off-ball linebacker in college?
I don't know if it was like obviously full time, but I'm sure because of Wisconsin, I think it might even been under Leonard, maybe as well. But I would have to think that he probably had some tweener, in there, because that's what Leonard loved, was like those versatile players.
Yeah, no, it looks like he did. I think his I was looking at it here just real quickly. I think it was his sophomore year or redshirt junior season. He actually was like the outside linebacker, but like which is an off-ball linebacker in their case for that season. And then they kind of used him a little bit more on the edge, and he kind of played all over. So, that makes a little bit of sense. If Jonah Ellis had it in his background, then maybe I think it's something we probably would have talked about, even before this, because it's like, but yeah, I mean, I'm with Brandon on this one. Like, I think if it's going to be certain packages that you have him playing in, those kinds of things can obviously make a lot of sense. And then at that point, it's like, okay, he's not really playing, inside linebacker. He just happens to be lined up there.
Right.
But
and that's the probably, And that's probably the part that that all of us are probably going to end up being probably taking a little bit of a step back and like, okay, he didn't say full time, right? Like he didn't say full time. He just said that he will be taking some snaps, but it's definitely something as fans that'll be kind of like, okay, noted. The famous GIF of just like writing it down, like noted, going forward as we kind of go into almost said spring training into training camp. Um, Speaking of chaos, Mark,
Chaos.
there was some chaos that happened 2 weeks ago. There was some chaos that happened 2 weeks ago where the Broncos pulled the trigger on a trade that frankly had been in the works of a player who had been interested in Denver for quite some time. And it was Jalen Waddle. So before we dive a little bit into the roster, what were your initial takeaways, of the Jalen Waddle trade and, what it means?
Man, I was thrilled. I was thrilled beyond belief, to be honest with you. Like, obviously, it was amazing news, given how horrible the whole entire week was. Not just from a Broncos standpoint, but like like the Broncos literally made me sick. Like, I got one of the worst sicknesses I think I've ever had in my life. Was out for an entire week. Could barely get out of bed half those days. Like, they literally made me sick, and then I'm just coming back from it. I'm on my way to work to finally start working in the office again, and I literally turned around and went back home. I was like, I got to make a video on this. Obviously, it was really exciting. And I think it's perfect, man. It's the perfect type of move that we needed. We talked about, what do you need for Bo Nix? You needed more weapons. You need to get him some guys that were explosive, that could run all over the field. And then as a result, it's going to open it up for everybody. Now you're not forcing these younger guys that are still developing to develop and produce. And then, it's almost unfair for them. So this kind of allows that opportunity. I think he's going to open up the field and make it better for everybody, man. I cannot wait to see Jalen Waddle in a Broncos uniform. And I felt like everything about it was good. I mean, I was good with the compensation that they gave up. I love the fact that he's barely counting against the cap this year. The amount of guaranteed money that has in the contract is very, very feasible, especially considering, where the market's at now. So it's just checks across the board. He's only 27 years old still. Like, I love it, man. I'm super excited to see how he's going to affect this offense overall. Cause I feel like it's a benefit for the other receivers, for this horrible tight end room that we have, for the running game, for everything. So I'm super pumped.
Yeah. I think the word you and I said, Brandon, was complimentary. Complimentary was the best word you could really say about that wide receiver room.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I totally wholeheartedly agree with what Mark's saying here, because I do think that there was something missing in that wide receiver room. And I'm not even saying like 100% that this completely solves that. I mean, I do think this is a much, much, much better wide receiver room than it was before the trade. And I don't really see a path where it could have been improved more this offseason. Like, are you going to maybe take a shot on a guy at 30, maybe if KC Concepcion was there, which I don't even know if that's going to be true. I think this was the best allocation of that pick that they could have used towards that room. I think there's definitely still some questions that I have just in terms of, like, I love Jalen Waddle. I love Courtland Sutton. I think they are, let me put it this way. If you're not going to be able to have a Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson level of elite wide receiver, that's like your number one obvious option. Not to say that Jalen Waddle isn't a number one. I think he definitely can be. But if you can't have that guy, and those guys don't grow on trees, doing something like this where you have the just speed and underrated route running ability from Jalen Waddle, where he can play inside and he can play outside, and then you have like the big boundary X receiver, every 50-50 ball is actually 70-30 ball guy in Courtland Sutton. Like, that's the next best thing. And there was no way for us to get a Jamar Chase. So, I think this is a move that I love and definitely like sets the team up for a lot more success and a lot more explosive plays, which just helps all the way around. I think it's going to help every other receiver in that room. It's going to help the running game, it's going to just open up a lot more of this offense. And yeah, I mean, again, outside of trying to get Jamar Chase, right, which isn't going to be possible, this is the next best thing.
Yeah, I mean, finding that number one receiver is like close to impossible. It's like, it's so difficult. You know, everyone was, before we made the trade, we're talking about all these receivers. Like, is there a true wide receiver one? And it's like, these guys just, they don't just grow on trees, man. And if they are in the NFL, they, you know, are rarely ever available. So it was always about like, how do we raise the ceiling of this room, right? How do we make it so that we're not kind of stuck in mud at a lot of the times? And I think that's exactly what Jalen Waddle does.
You know, and it really kind of made me wonder. I tweeted it out, but it kind of made me wonder because there's a lot that, you know, I was kind of just talking about, and obviously we've spent a fair amount, you know, because this has been the only news, like true news for the Broncos in the last couple weeks. But it kind of got me wondering, right? Like in 2021 is the very famous draft, right? Like the very famous draft of Broncos country that we will always remember, where George Paton picked Pat Surtain over Justin Fields, right? Well, now in that same draft class, the Broncos actually ended up with the 6th pick and the 9th pick in that same draft. So it kind of got me wondering. I don't know that answer because I'm not in the room, and the only way you really know that answer is just simply, you know, you actually have to be physically in that room to really know that answer, and then obviously convince it yourself whether or not you believe it. But it got me wondering, because of what George came out and said, of that they evaluated Surtain as a blue chip player, right? Like as a blue chip player. And for as much as we even talk about, you know, Sean Payton and how much he even loved Jalen Waddle and his fit here, it makes me wonder how much of the same symbiotic relationship of Peyton was in this, that he also fell in love with Waddle, even in the 2021 draft class, to maybe where he kind of had him in that same blue chip tier, you know, with Pat Surtain.
It's a good point. I mean, certainly could have. I mean, they have a lot of ties with Jalen. They talked about Teddy Bridgewater, how they know him, and he's been around him, and Nick Saban. So, I mean, dude, these GMs, like at least the good ones, they definitely have to go back to their original draft notes and draft takes on these players when it comes to them, you know, becoming ultimately available, whether it be via trade or in free agency. So, I'm sure he loved them then. I think it's different though too, because the roster was so different then. The circumstances were so different. So, like, you know, had Pat Surtain not been available and Jalen Waddle been available at 9, like, do they make the pick? I don't know. I don't think so necessarily. I mean, because you have to have somebody that can get him the ball. We didn't really have it at that time, but it's a fascinating debate for sure. And I'm sure that had a lot to do with it in terms of just them knowing his character and his work ethic and just how explosive he can be. So,
and then obviously the other question that probably, you know, we didn't even mention Brandon on the show was, I was talking with a friend of mine the other day about this, and is it fair to say that the Jalen Waddle news, like take the fact that obviously it's Broncos related, if you will, and it's obviously, you know, the top story for the Broncos of the offseason, but is it also fair to say that maybe this is the biggest NFL news or move of the entire offseason? Because, you know, I mean, the Max Crosby trade ended up being not so much of a addition, if you will, more of like he just went back to the Raiders, right? Like you know, and frankly, all of it could end up being AFC West related as far as like the top news and moves, if you will, to come in the offseason. Just because if you really look at it, I would just say, what? Kenneth Walker to the Chiefs trading Trent McDuffie to the Rams, trading for Jalen Waddle. I mean, is it fair to say that, you know, the Jalen Waddle trade might actually be the best move, or the number one, if not number 2 move of the entire offseason in the NFL?
I think it's up there. I think are you talking about like in terms of splash or in terms of like actual?
Well, because everybody talks about like what was the number one, like if there were to rank moves that happened, in the NFL and in the offseason, is it fair to say that Waddle was at least in that top upper echelon of moves?
I think he would be top 5. Yeah, I think there's a lot that happened this offseason, man. Like the entire like Max Crosby timeline that happened with the Ravens, and then like them getting Trey Hendrickson, I think is also up there. The Chiefs losing their entire secondary, and specifically Trent McDuffie going to LA, like I think is huge. There were just so many good, like I wouldn't say franchise defining moves, like definitely not that level, but there were a lot of moves that happened this offseason that pretty dramatically like adjust how you think about that team. And I'm just glad that the Broncos were in that mix, honestly. Like I'll take any spot on that list. It doesn't have to be the top spot. But I do think it was, in terms of like what it does for our team, I would say it's probably top 5. But just because, again, we talked about like how much that you needed someone else in that room. You needed someone else on offense. Like you needed another star offensive player. That could be a running back. That could be a tight end. It ended up being a wide receiver. There's still more I think we could do there, but I would definitely say that it's near the top of that list for sure. This is a crazy offseason. Like there were some big moves that happened. I'm excited to see how it plays out in the actual official start of the NFL season. But it definitely it was boring in the beginning, and thankfully it didn't last. So I'm happy to be anywhere in that conversation.
No doubt. I think another thing too to add to that, man, is like, Sean, he said like how, you don't, it's free agency frenzy. He kept talking about how it's a frenzy and it's a big marketing gig. And I actually agree with him on that, like, because a lot of it is like, dude, you got to think about as NFL fans, like right when the season's over, we're still like chomping at the bit, like give me some more football. We can't wait for March to come, and you're excited, and then you want your team to make a move and all of that. And I think I'm obviously really happy that they had the Jalen Waddle move. But I guess my question to you guys from that is like, all Sean and George talked about, we know that culture is so important, and they kept talking about culture. That's why they wanted to bring their guys back. But do you think they're emphasizing it too much, like to a fault almost? Or can that never be too much of emphasis on a culture? Because it's like, I don't think fans, just general fans like us, were wanting to make all these splash moves and go spend a whole bunch of money. I was literally asking for, Charlie Kolar and
dude,
and Brian Robinson Jr. Like I wanted 2 to 3 guys. And so, it's like, do you guys feel like maybe they're overdoing it when it comes to culture like I said, almost to a fault where like it seems like they're afraid to add, a couple of players, or do you just feel like, man, it's been working, you got to trust them, let's keep rolling?
Yeah, it's a conversation that, Brandon and I and even Jordan have had the conversation too when the doldrums were happening of the offseason, and they weren't adding anyone, but they were adding adding anyone outside the organization. And I think that, for me at least, it was like continuity is a great thing, right? It is a great thing, right? Like they had 85% continuity in the, as far as this last offseason, they had like 85%, continuity of roster. Mm-hmm. And at least if there is probably anything I would just say is like, for what we saw on the season, and then as the season was progressing, for as much as there were some times where players or specific position groups were having us tear our hair out of our heads, and go visit Turkey to go get hair transplant surgery or whatever. I think as much as frustrating as that was, it resulted in the idea where they were a game or a broken ankle away from going into the Super Bowl. And I don't think that's a wrong way to evaluate it, but also there's been times where if you are that close to a Super Bowl, you want to make sure you're doing everything possible so you don't miss that. And that would result in adding some extra players that are outside the organization that will help make your team just that much better and that much floors up. So I don't know. It's just there's some give and take for it because it's like I think that maybe they read a little bit of the continuity aspect of it because like I don't know, like I've been trying to process it all because like the way I kind of came down to it was just they're operating as if they're doing the training camp signings before the draft, right? Like they're doing their training camp signings and depth signings before the draft, which is right around. It just happened to be like right around the NFL free agency, and the bulk of your moves are going to end up being the NFL draft, and then your value signings, which could end up being players like a Cam Jordan or even a Calais Campbell, hypothetically after the draft.
Yep, it's a good point. Brandon,
if we end up with Cam Jordan, I'm going to be so hyped. But I do think like this is kind of one of those things where it's like you don't really know. There's so many different people and personnel involved in the moves that are kind of being made here. That's like, you look at the guys they brought back, like Lil Jordan Humphrey, Adam Troutman. I feel like these are the obvious, like, the obvious, like, this is a Sean Payton guy, and we got to keep it because Sean Payton loves him. And honestly, like, if we want to have a discussion about that, I'm all ears because, like, I don't know how I feel about that being as a strategy. Like, I don't think that is a strategy, but it's been, it's happened enough times where it's like, Sean Payton's going to keep his guys, going to get his guys in there, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it's like, well, what if your guys aren't that good? But whatever, I digress because I don't really know. But I do think that's part of it. And then you look at the rest of the, I don't know how much I buy into like, oh, we like the culture and it ain't broke, don't fix it. We almost got to the promised land. I mean, like, yeah, but you also heard them say out loud that they need to upgrade wide receiver, they need to upgrade running back, they need to upgrade tight end, they need to upgrade inside linebacker. And it's just like how they go about doing that. I don't know. I do think like there's definitely some questionable decisions that were made and not made in terms of who wasn't gone after in the free agency cycle. But I do think like knowing that the Waddle trade was probably on the, coming down the pipeline and they had to put that on the books. The thing that gets overblown every single year, which is having to pay, their free or their NFL draft class, which now doesn't have a first round pick, so it's going to be dirt cheap and is really never as big of a thing as people make it out to be. You take all that and then you go into like who's going to be a free agent in 2027. Who are they going to end up paying? Jaquan McMillan is kind of at near the top of that list. When do they want to pay Bo Nix? Like I think there's a lot that goes into this, but I think that I don't know enough to say one way or the other if it's like truly a culture thing or to Mark's point, like they're afraid to add other guys to the room. There's definitely some questionable decisions being made. And some of that I think is truly like, hey, this is a coach's guy and we're going to keep him. And it's just like something that we got to live with, unfortunately. But I do think that, given where the team and the roster kind of ended up and the strengths of this draft class outside of running back, I think it's lining up well. And it's kind of almost even going after it's kind of like it's supply and demand really is what it comes down to. It's like, could we have paid one of these free agent linebackers? Sure. But this is also an incredibly good linebacker draft. So let's just take one that's young and cost controlled and cheap. Right. So it's an interesting discussion, but I definitely think there is a culture aspect to it in the sense of like, these are Sean Payton's guys and they're staying on the team no matter what. And no matter how much I don't want Lil Jordan Humphrey on my team, nothing against Lil Jordan Humphrey. I think he's actually not terrible, but I'm just like, there's other players that we could have in that wide receiver room that would probably make a bigger difference.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
If we're going to talk about players, if we're going to talk about players making a position change, and Sean Payton's going to bring it up, at least say Lil Jordan Humphrey's going to take some snaps at tight end. Then you got my ears perked up a little bit, right? Like that's when I can get behind, because then you're like, all right, cool. We don't have to worry about him in the receiver room anymore, especially now with Waddle. Like he's going to be buried down the depth chart anyways. And I'm with you, Brandon. Like I don't actually hate Lil Jordan Humphrey as a player. I think I give him a lot of props for just kind of doing whatever's asked for him, and it's not really his fault that he was on the team. But dude, I think this guy can legitimately be at least the second best tight end that we have on this team if he puts 10 pounds, which is crazy.
The bar is not high.
Well, I was gonna say,
sorry, Evan Ingram, but it's true.
Well, I was gonna say, Mark, you found the Gazette article that came out, was it last year, when he first originally signed with the Broncos? When he first originally signed with the Broncos, and his agent even said himself, that hey, and about like the possibility of him becoming a tight end, and Brandon will be the first to tell you that had been kind of like an idea that I was even floating around. Like, hey, maybe do they move him to tight end or whatever? He'd have to gain like probably 15 pounds or so, but it's doable because I mean they did it with Juwan Johnson, Sean did, and it seems to be working out just fine for Juwan, at least down there in New Orleans. So yeah, so I guess, and this is a very loaded question, but Victory Lap does ask, like, what does the priority at 62 mean going forward? Or in essence, like when you look at the Broncos roster going forward, obviously the holes, the team needs, the needs of where this team is going to be going, as Brandon alluded to, it's staying the same. Like, it's still pretty much status quo, just a little bit, minus a tweak there of the wide receiver room. So when you look at it from the vantage point of 62 or going forward with this roster, Mark, how would you rank the positions of, say, your favorite when it comes to 62? I mean, obviously there's others, like with 108 and 111 down the line, but like when you look at them specifically, how would you rank them for 62?
I mean, yeah, personally for me, I think I would definitely rank tight end as number one. And that's because I think it's our biggest need, and there's some guys that'll be there that I really like. And then I would rank number two inside line. Well, here's the crazy thing too, man. Like I always go back and forth because it's such a good inside linebacker group. So I'll get back to that because I feel like it's always what do I want versus what do I think George and Sean are going to do. Like, so What I want is I would love a tight end. There's honestly not really a position outside of DB and wide receiver that I would be, and obviously quarterback, but that's not going to happen. That like I would be fine with any of those, or edge. So I'd be fine with like D-line, O-line, tight end, running back, inside linebacker. Obviously, like you can maybe sell me on safety. I wouldn't really be that high on it, but like we can go a lot of different ways and do it. So like I love the idea of doing of addressing the tight end position, the inside linebacker position for sure at some point, and then I think one of our big low key priorities, I think even probably more than running back, is getting a defensive lineman, like an interior defensive lineman. Running back, I would love to develop a tackle or a guard, like legitimately actually draft and develop one in those positions. But it's kind of fascinating because you look at it, it's a really weird draft because it's, in my opinion, the deepest positional groups in this draft are like the probably least valuable when it comes to like how teams look at it. Like I think it's a really deep inside linebacker group, class, and I think it's very deep at safety, right? And so that's why like there's a lot of these questions at the top of the draft. It's like the blue chip players in this draft are, in my, like when you look at outside of Mendoza, it's like Sonny Styles is an off-ball linebacker, Arvell Reese, who some say is an off-ball linebacker, some say is an edge guy, but he could be good at both. Carnell Tate, who's a wide receiver, Caleb Downs, who's a safety, and then but there's not like a blue chip tackle. There's not a blue chip edge rusher, I would say. There's really good guys. So it's a strange draft, but so I'm kind of rambling because I had a lot of different things that like my mind was going to. This happens a bit, so I'll get back to it. But another thing is like I feel like last year's draft, I think Sean and George might be a little bit scarred from it because they're never going to admit it, but they were very much expecting to get at least one of those running backs or one of those, big time tight ends, because it was a very deep running back and tight end group. And all of a sudden the second round starts and it's like they're all going, right? Trevion's gone, Quinshon's gone, Harold Fannon's gone, Terrence Ferguson. They're just like falling off, and they kind of like I guess we'll trade back. They had a trade back opportunity. They traded back and they got RG Harvey, which again, I think that they liked him, but they certainly didn't love him. So I think that they probably had the mindset of it's a really deep group. We're going to be able to get one of these guys at one of these positions, and they missed out on it. And they might not want to do that again this year. And they could even be aggressive of maybe moving up and making sure they get one of their linebackers there if they want to. But it's also a really weird linebacker class because it's a very deep one. I think it's very good, but it's so diverse, man. Like there's so many different styles of linebacker. It's just really depending on like what the hell you want. And so like if you love Kyle Lewis or you love Torian York, like the smaller hybrid type cover linebacker, then you could probably get him in the 4th round, potentially, or make a move to package those twos and go up into the 3rd round and get them. So it's going to be really fascinating. But I think the priority, I think it should be tight end or inside linebacker, in my opinion, depending on who they're targeting. If you're asking me, so very long-winded way to answer one question. I want to say one last thing. If you talk about what Sean and George will do, though, I feel like they're probably going to just take best player available because the way that they, in my opinion, I think that they view this roster, they obviously love it. They kept re-signing their guys. You're building a roster of 53 guys. You got some practice squatters. I get it, but 53 guys. I feel like 48, 49 of them, they probably love and are totally fine with them being on the 53-man roster. So they're just going to be like BPA and roll with it. And they've kind of done that in the past too.
Yeah. Brandon?
Yeah. That's a really interesting way to think about it too. I think it really is going to come down to the fan in me wants to say linebacker or tight end, just because like I could agree more with everything that Mark just said. Something just in my gut tells me they're going to probably take an interior defensive lineman, and I wouldn't even be mad. But I do think it's between those three because like those are clearly the biggest holes on this roster. And like if someone slides and you can get someone that you have graded as like 20 spots higher than 62, and you're able to get him, great. I mean, take him. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, if that's like a Jennings dunker, sign me up all day. Yeah. I wouldn't be mad if we're taking like a guard, because after I think 2027 is when Ben Powers is a free agent.
Right.
And he's been off and on in terms of like availability anyway. So I could see them shoring up the interior offensive line more, but I think it's interior offensive line or interior defensive line or linebacker. And the reason I say that is like there's so many tight ends in this draft class. Like as much as I want it to be a tight end and I want to spend as high of a draft pick as we possibly can at a tight end and invest in the position. And I'm not saying that that's not possible, because there's some guys that could be there that I think, like a Max Clare. Max Clare is like the perfect, he does everything solid. He's not like going to blow you away with his blocking. He's not going to like be Travis Kelce, right? But he's just good. He's good in every area. And I think like that's exactly what you need at tight end right now in this roster. But if you're not going to be able to get like an elite Kenyon Sadiq, which is you're just obviously not going to get that at 62, but I think that's kind of in my mind where they go, because there's so many good tight ends. It's actually crazy. Like if you want a weapon, there's guys later in the draft for that. If you want like a good blocking tight end, there's guys later in the draft for that. Like Sam Roush is a great blocking tight end. He's going to be a staple on your offensive line as a blocker for years. What's the tight end from I think it's Notre Dame.
Eli Raridan?
Eli Raridan? Yes, Eli Raridan. Could remember his last name for a second there. He has, I believe, the most catches. No, it was the most targets of 20-plus air yards down the field in this entire tight end class. He has 8 of them. He caught all 8. So if you're looking for a move tight end later in the class, you're probably going to be able to get one. There's Jolly as well from NC State, who's also like super solid in that area. There's too many schools to keep track of. So I do think that interior offensive line, interior defensive line in my gut is where they go at 62. But if they do that, or they do linebacker, or they do tight end, I'd be happy with any of those. We'll see.
I think the thing for me, and maybe it was just simply because of the Waddle trade or whatever, but it's like, I think at this point now, I'm rather content with whatever they do. Like, I'm rather content with whatever direction they go to. I definitely would say I have favorites, right? Like, favorites ideally of what I would like, making sure that they do address one of the weaker positions on this team, meaning still linebacker and still, tight end. But I will say, I would say I'm far more confident they will be addressing running back in the draft class versus a defensive lineman, right? I'm not saying they won't address the defensive lineman because we don't know that answer. But I do wonder if they're going to be going out and getting a Cam Jordan, or even a Calais Campbell, or someone that is on the vet market, that they bring in. Because especially too, what was it? They said they still like the room yet of, Savion Jones, right? Like of, taking on maybe a little bit more of that JFM role. Like that was something that George Payton brought up in the owners meetings. Well, they went out, as we said too, right? Like they went out and they actually traded for Jalen Waddle, right? Like, so maybe not watch what they say, but watch what they do kind of thing. And so I feel a little bit more confident in the idea that they're maybe going after running back a little bit more. And then linebacker too. I mean, like what they said that they probably feel good for the room, but yet we're going to move Jonah Ellis and at times and give him some, at times and get him some inside linebacker snaps. So I'm not necessarily even ruling out the idea that they still aggressively are going to be looking at a linebacker, for this class. So I'm really kind of indifferent about what direction they go. I will say it really hasn't been until like the last couple weeks where, and obviously the news broke today where the Broncos are going to hold a top 30 visit with Emmanuel Pregnon. It really wasn't until until fairly recently where I kind of was really on board with the idea that maybe we go guard, right? Like maybe we go guard, like a Jennings Dunker or an Emmanuel Pregnon at 62 if they're even there. Because like that's the thing too, is like, are they meeting with the Pregnon just in case he's going to be available at 62? Or a Caleb Banks, right? Like Caleb Banks was another one that's been floated around. Are they going to be meeting with him due to the foot injury that he had? Are they going to be meeting with him just in case there's that window where he is available, at 62, or they can move up a few more spots to go get him? So I think that those are trench players where I'm just like, I'm not afraid if they want to take a chance on that,
Yep.
So with wide receiver, I should say with wide receiver being maybe the one position where it's like, do you really need to address that at 62? That kind of thing. So with that being said, do you guys want to do our first edition, if you will, of a mock draft that doesn't involve a first round pick?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. So sadly, I will say, because of the way I like how it's detailed, we are going to be using the now empty list of employees Pro Football Focus.
It's going to be just AI.
It'll be just AI.
The AI, yeah.
I gotta see Trevor.
I'm supportive of our new AI overlords.
Trevor Sikkema, big board is still there, and he's been let go. I was just curious. Yeah.
Whoever gets that guy's lucky, man. He's awesome. I'm a huge fan of his.
Yeah. If you guys ever get a chance, and you guys haven't already, and you guys have not gotten a chance to watch the NFL Stock Exchange with I believe it's Connor Rogers, right?
Connor Rogers and Trevor.
They are really, really good. And frankly, they're one of the few. It's one of the reasons why, like, and Brandon knows this over the years, why I like doing mock drafts with other people and combining, the simple, knowledge that we have for when we do mock drafts. And they're doing the same thing with a much larger scale, a much larger community of players that, people within the community that do a bunch of draft stuff. So the fact they do an NFL draft or a first round mock with some of these, draft analysts and everything, I think is phenomenal. And so I like the fact that they do that this time of year. So it is a 7-round mock draft. So let's enter the draft room.
I was going to say, is Turbo too quick? Oh, Jake Galde went 61. I'm actually so glad about that. I hate that, actually.
Yeah.
It's okay. There's Jennings Dunker.
I'm a big Mark knows, but I'm a big Galde guy. Just a freak of nature, right? Like a freak of nature. Honestly, it's funny that they did the Jonah Ellis thing, because like if there is one player stylistically and draft profile wise of an athletic frame who would undoubtedly have put Drew Sanders on the block immediately the moment you drafted him, was Jake Galde.
No doubt.
Yeah,
he's been going. I've been doing a lot of these mocks, and he's kind of always going right before at 61. And you're just like, damn it! Right. All right, well.
Are you trying to tell us something? Right? We're like, are you trying to tell us something?
Yeah, exactly. I have a question for you. This is gonna be perfect for the draft, because I was just looking into this. I'm happy that you started at this time. So, there's two different draft philosophies, obviously, that you can take here, like in terms of trade back or trade up, right? And I think a lot of people feel like the Broncos actually might trade up because they really wanted that extra fourth in the Jalen Waddle deal. And I was looking at the NFL draft
swap. They only had this.
A fourth round, the swap. But like to be able to get that to be a little bit of a better pick, to make it a little stronger. If you look at the trade value chart, like trading 108 and 111 would get you right around pick 88 or 89 in the third round. So if you want, we can do a scenario where we make the trade now and we pick at, doing it on my end. So 62 and 88 and 89. Okay. Or we can run it normally, and then we can maybe do a scenario where we trade up, where we trade back, and then compare the two. If you guys want, I'm good with that too.
Why don't we do that? So, like, I mean, you're the guest. Why don't we run with the idea, and we can kind of compare. If you're cool with that, Brandon, we can kind of do a little bit of a compare. So 88. What is pick 88?
So I think with this draft, we can just keep it all as is. Let's just do this one as if no trades are made.
Just do this one with no trades, what we get. Do another one.
Yeah, and then do another one where we trade up, and then the third one where we trade back. We can speed through them pretty quick.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So, man, I'm torn here because there's some interesting names here. I actually really like Bryce Lance, but there's just no way we need to take a wide receiver here now. I'm so torn too, because like Josiah Trotter has been kind of like my guy that I've had my eye on at 62 at linebacker, because he's just the one who's most likely to be there. And I think he's actually like a really good player who can play in space. But I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. There's Mike Washington. Okay.
Yeah. He's another one of those players where I don't know if he's there, honestly. I don't.
Really? You don't think you don't think his fumbles are going to be enough of a
I'm sure there's going to be a team or two
to get him to slip a little bit? Okay.
I'm sure there's going to be a team that definitely will look at that and be turned off by it. But that's still 1 to 5 teams that are going to be low on Mike Washington when there's 32 teams, right? And so I have to venture to guess that there's going to be at least a couple teams well ahead of them that are not going to say no to it. Like specifically, if he's even honestly in this kind of scenario, if you're the Seattle Seahawks, you are praying that Mike Washington will make it to you at 64.
Yeah.
I think he'll be there.
My other feeling here is that Jennings Dunker and Quinn Miners are going to be like an all-time elite vibes tandem at guard. So
an aura tandem.
Take that into account. Also, he's a good player. So, Mark, where are you leaning here?
So, for me, it would be between two guys. Jennings Dunker would definitely be one of them. The reason I love him so much too is because I love the tackle and guard versatility.
Yep.
Like he doesn't have to play right away. If you need, if he's going to be a really good guard, great. He can play there, after this season or fill in this year if you need to. But I think he could be a really good tackle in the NFL still. I definitely think he needs some development, and that's what I like about him because like he could be a potential replacement for, Bowles in a couple of years, McGlinchey after the season, or obviously point. Ben Powers. So I love the versatility with Dunker. Like I love Emmanuel Pregnon. I think he's a better guard for sure, but he's strictly a guard. That versatility is nice. So it would be between him and honestly one of my favorite players in the draft, and that's Sam Roush. I love Sam Roush. I would absolutely take him at 62. And the reason is because he completely transforms, in my opinion, this tight end room because he can come in, he can block his ass off, he can contribute on special teams, and you don't have to have any kind of tells if you're going to run it or throw it because I think he's going to be a lot more athletic than people think. So I would like that, but I understand if y'all are hesitant about that because it might be a little bit rich. So I like Jennings Dunker a lot, but I'm good with it.
Well, was Roush? Let's go look at the. By the way,
he's for sure available.
He's definitely there at 62.
Yeah.
And as it. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say with Jennings Dunker, I'm very biased when it comes to the Big Ten. So it's just like because that's the one conference on a regular that I watch. And Jennings Dunker, like there was the one point where, he had an ankle injury or like a foot injury, and he was still putting together some really solid reps at tackle or even guard and was not allowing nearly a single, bad rep, if you will. So and of course too, like there is a very long lineage of offensive linemen that come from Iowa where if there is a school that you want to actually draft from and it'll be a part of your organization for the better part of 8 to 12 years, I would dip your toes into Iowa. As far as some really good safety insurance. So Jennings undoubtedly is really high on my list as well.
That was a great point too about like his versatility and also being able to play tackle because like the other tackle we're looking at here, Caleb Tiernan, he's kind of in that same boat, but he's shorter lengthwise. Like he has shorter arms that I don't think he's going to be able to do that to the same degree that Jennings Dunker would. So I'm totally okay with taking Dunker here. Like I think that would be a fantastic pick. I'm not even sure he lasts this long, to be honest with you, but
yeah,
I think I love Trotter. I'm between those two, but I can definitely go with Jennings Dunker. I think that would be slam dunk.
Let's do it.
All right.
And I realized Iowa's O-line was so legit. I was watching Caleb Johnson last year. I'll never forget it. And I came out and told her, I was like, I'm not a really big Caleb Johnson fan. I don't know. And people were kind of like, what do you mean? He's so good, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, dude, every single hole, you would pause it like right when he hit the ball, and it's like you could just walk through it. And it's like
truck lanes.
I haven't seen enough. Like, what is he going to do when he doesn't have that? Because they were just dominating. And then when they played like better competition, and they weren't just road grading, Caleb Johnson didn't do anything. So yeah, good point on Iowa's O-line. They're legit.
Yeah. So we went and we dipped our toes into the insurance policy for I assume Ben Powers or even down the line when it comes to McGlinchey and or Garrett Bowles. What's the next positional group? Some people like Michael Trigg. Some people
I was going to say.
So we can't see it. There you go.
Yeah. Well, your guy, unfortunately, in Sam Roush is absolutely gone by now. There's no way he lasts this long. But I do like Michael Trigg as kind of.
Did we lose?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That's very fitting. It's so fitting because Michael Trigg is on my absolutely do not draft list. And I think right when he said Michael Trigg, it was like, nope. I'm like, yes, thank you, internet. That's exactly what I wanted. That's awesome.
That's awesome. He doesn't typically have internet issues. So that's the kind of the funniest part.
It could have been, maybe you never know. Power outage. It happened to me once.
Right. Unhooked an Ethernet cable. So
that's so funny.
So would you go So I have to assume, like, let's just like hypothetically play the scenario out. They went and they got the offensive line, right? I would have to assume with no trade up, you are getting a tight end or running back, or some playmaker within those next 2 picks.
Dude, I could still hear you. I didn't even know I was frozen.
Oh, you didn't? So you heard my Michael Trigg thing?
Because I asked you, why don't you like Michael Trigg? And I didn't hear anything. And so I was like, there's something wrong here.
I swear we did not plan that. I did not like mute you or mess your group, but it was so funny because right when you said Michael Trigg, I'm thinking, oh God, I hope not. And then it cuts off. I'm like, boom, the universe even knew.
Let me finish my thought because I don't think you heard all of it. I like Michael Trigg. There's guys I like better that I think will probably be there later. But I do like Trigg. Why don't you like Trigg? I'm curious.
I don't like Trigg because way too many red flags for me. So, well, first, and then to put the cherry on top, like his explosive testing at his pro day was like really, really bad, which I was, I guess, a little bit surprised by. But like, you hear about the character concerns. Obviously, he got kicked out of 2 schools before he found a home in Baylor. So that's one thing. I'm not going to judge somebody's character. I'm not privy to the information that the teams are.
Yeah.
But then I watch him, and dude, he's got like so much Jerry Jeudy to him where he'll quit on routes. I don't like the effort that he plays with. He hates to block, absolutely hates it.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, man, I'd always rather go with the guy that's like trying his ass off. That's why I fell in love with Sam Roush, because it was this dude is playing in a shitty offense. Like, dude, what an eyesore to watch Stanford play. And they're down 40 points, and he's out there busting his ass off. Like, wasn't always pretty, but he was trying. So whenever I see like those 3 red flags, like you got the character concerns, and then he should have been a lot more productive than I think he was, given what the tape showed, and then the lack of effort. I'm like, that's why I'm kind of out on him.
But, it's funny.
Well, the good news is I think Sean Payton agrees with you that he doesn't like guys that try to block at all. So
I agree.
He's probably not going to be a Bronco, but I think he's okay. There's just guys I'd rather take, like Jolie. I'd rather take for sure. I would rather take Eli, Brereton, not Stowers, although I do like Stowers for Brereton. But yeah, that's what I was saying about Michael Trigg. I wasn't saying take him. I was saying, oh, Michael Trigg's there. I kind of like Michael.
No, it was just so. I mean, obviously, like literally, you said Michael Trigg, and that was all I heard, and I was like dying laughing. I'm like,
it was a trigger, if you will.
The next thing I'd said is show me all the tight ends, because I'm curious who else is available.
Well, Mark knows and Brandon definitely knows, but like, it's funny that of the Sam Roush love, because if you wanted to get a Sam Roush player for better value later, in my opinion, it's Borkature, because it's the exact same reasons that Mark is alluding to. Like, we're talking about a player who spent 5 years with a crappy organization of Nebraska, and he would just block his tail off. Like, he would block.
Was in Nebraska. That's why you love him so much. I was wondering. I was like, man, you really love Borkature.
Well, and so that's why it was just so it was such a freaking fitting thing at the Senior Bowl where, we bump into his family, and it was just like, oh wow, this is actually kind of cool. But you learn about
He's
it.
Also an Emmett Johnson fan. You'll find out soon.
He's already known about that. Yeah.
I'm a big Emmett Johnson fan too.
Big
time.
But
it's more and more every day.
Yeah. But it's one where it's just like, he's part of a program for 5 years, and he's blocking his tail off, and he was underutilized. That should tell you enough about the team player that he was. And then he goes to Texas A&M, one of the top teams in the country, playing with Marcel Reed, and he actually earns an opportunity where he ends up getting a game-winning touchdown, the biggest moment of his life against Notre Dame, and so it's just like, he earns his keep everywhere he goes. And so it's just one of those things, like, those types of players will weigh heavily on a guy like a Sean Payton. And that's ultimately why he was probably brought in for a top 30 visit, because it was this one where it's like, they may not get him here, but they want to ensure that come later on down in the draft, there's enough interest, and that there's enough interest there that we'll be able to pull the trigger, a little bit later.
Yep. All right. So, and it's interesting here too, because that's why the 62 pick is so, I guess in a way, important, because it's like, let's say, like, I wouldn't say Jennings Dunker is like one of our big needs, even though I would absolutely love the pick. But if you don't take a need, which is totally fine, Now you're kind of in a pickle because you're like, you have 108 and 111. So if you like tight end and inside linebacker, you could probably get two of the guys that you like, or running back, or whatever you're sacrificing. So, I mean, based on how like the board falls, if you're looking at it versus, the, positions available, like I probably like the running back list if you want to pull up the running back list. And then there's some inside linebackers. So I feel like running back and inside linebacker at 108, 111 in whatever order would make a lot of sense. Like I would love Emmett Johnson at 108. Love it.
Yep, exactly. Well, because like, and that was the thing that I was trying to say earlier, right? Like if you don't go the route of running back, tight end, playmaker, if you will, running back, tight end, and also maybe linebacker in that tier of 62, I have to assume one of those or two of those, if you're not trading up, is going to be your most likely candidate for 108 and 111.
Yep.
Okay, so you said linebacker, Brandon?
Yeah, I'm just curious. Who's there?
Bryce Betcher.
I actually do really like Bryce Betcher. I really like
Torin York. Caleb Alarms Orr. Mm-hmm. Linebacker.
If you guys want to take Emmett Johnson, I'm okay with that. Totally.
This is kind of like a linebacker and running back kind of combination here, like getting that running back and then getting that linebacker at 111 probably.
Yep, I'm good with it.
All right. So let's go get that running back from the great state of Runza. They had an April Fool's joke or whatever today that they came out and they said they're selling burgers. And fun in Runza.
What's Runza?
Runza's this fast food joint in Nebraska that's basically like almost like a roast beef sandwich almost. Okay. And so that's all they sell basically. They don't sell burgers. And so when they did this April Fool's joke of like selling burgers, everybody just kind of like, but you're going to sell them though, right? Like you're going to sell them. Mm-hmm. And so everybody's all on board about it. All right. So
that's a decent April Fool's joke. I can get, that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Not Aaron Rodgers.
Not Aaron Rodgers. Okay. So, because, Michael Trigg went to the Chiefs. A pick after.
Perfect. That is the perfect fit for Michael Trigg. Let me tell you guys that. There's no player that Andy Reid is salivating over more than Michael Trigg, and he's like, hell yeah. We got our guy. We got our guy that's just gonna get in, that might get in some trouble, and that's funny.
That is
so we took Emmett Johnson. All right, so I'm good with that. And then any of the linebackers, Brandon, you could choose whoever.
Any of them.
You like? I mean, I like a lot of them. So I mean, I like Betcher and York and Alarms Orr.
So Betcher.
I like Betcher.
Betcher won the best. I believe he was the best walk-on linebacker in the entire country in 2020. 2025.
He could have gone pro in baseball, and he loves football.
Dude, he got drafted, right?
Not to.
He got drafted.
He did.
And then walks on at Oregon, which is wild. Yeah, it's a pretty cool story with him, man.
Yeah, it's a great story.
Did he get drafted? Hold on.
I think he was a 13th round pick, is what I heard somewhere. I'm not 100%. The last thing on earth I followed baseball.
He did.
It
was in the 13th round, which I didn't know. But he absolutely. I was gonna say he could have gone pro. He did go pro technically, but he did.
Well, and relatively speaking, with the amount of rounds that the MLB draft has, 13th round is really high.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. I just don't follow baseball beyond like the first.
Yeah, I know. God,
so
no.
I don't know what happened.
Dude, I'm way more interested in like women's soccer than way more interested in women's soccer than baseball.
Yeah. Until like the College World Series rolls around, and then everybody else loves the College World Series. I will say this: I'm a huge fan of Betcher here.
I do love Betcher.
Just because, like, when you think of like the consideration of Ellis moving to some part-time snaps at inside linebacker, Betcher fits the mold like of what they probably would want to have in that, which is just an absolute, twitchy linebacker who's got the instincts of what you had of a combination of maybe Alex Singleton in his air quotes prime and Josie Jewell, right? Like when you can have that in your room, and one of the smartest guys in your room, who also understands, who's the best quarterback in the NFL, being Bo Nix.
I heard about
When
that.
he was asked about that, it's just also kind of hard to ignore, and specifically too when you do factor in the amount of homework the Broncos did on the University of Oregon. Yeah, and Betcher, I would wonder, how long he had been on that list. So Betcher for me, and of course, I was at the Senior Bowl and got a chance to watch him play at the Senior Bowl. So there's a bit of a soft spot there.
He was balling too, right?
He was between him, J-Rod, who's a trade-up candidate if we ever get a running back in the second round. He's a trade-up candidate in the second round. And Kyle Lewis and a bunch of others. He was a really loaded linebacker class. So, Betcher?
Let's do it.
Do it.
So what would be the direction with 170?
So we got to take a defensive. We got to take
Dunker, Emmett Johnson, and Betcher. So we still don't have a tight end, and we still don't have a D lineman.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, your boy Oscar Delp is there, Cam.
They okay. Respecting the process of Oscar Delp, I will not be taking Oscar Delp in this situation, because if Oscar Delp is around pick 170, he had to smoke a bong the week before.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was gonna say I don't think he has a chance to sniff here, but he's getting a lot of Georgia bias for sure. But yeah, I don't think he'll be here.
Yeah, so respect to the situation. I am not taking Oscar Delp, even though
all right, we'll keep it realistic.
Number one on the board.
That's a fair point.
Yeah,
I do love Oscar Delp.
And so Raritan's not there either. So I feel like those are probably the only tight ends that I would realistically take here.
Yeah,
so we can take a look at the D lineman.
That trading 108 and 111 is looking.
I can see why you were looking at that, Mark.
In this scenario.
Well, it's scary because you got much less players, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like the idea of trading back too. I don't know, we'll see, but
so
Zane Durant's interesting here.
Yeah, Cole Brevard, Bryson Eason, Skylar Gill Howard.
The reason I like Zane Durant here, I don't think he's necessarily one of the best D-line prospects, but I think he's a really good replacement for John Franklin Myers. I feel like he can do – his strengths are kind of exactly what JFM did in terms of just strictly go after the passer, man. He's a little bit undersized, but I think that they'll, utilize him very similarly. So I like the fit with Zane Durant, but I'm good going, any other way. There's also that guy that's flying up the draft boards to Jordan Vandenberg from Georgia Tech. But I mean, here he's 231, but realistically, I think this is probably his range.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to be realistic, because I know you can get him in the 7th in these mocks,
right.
But I don't think he goes that late. But
yeah, I'm good with draft. We need to take an interior defensive lineman somewhere in this draft. That is definitely where I would go with this next pick. So if you like Durant, I'm good with that.
Yeah. Well, and once again, there's just some things you bet on. They may not translate, but there is just some things that you can bet on when it comes to Penn State. They are going to draft athletic, or they're going to recruit and have athletic freaks on their roster. I don't know how much that's going to change with Matt Campbell now at Penn State, but for some reason, Penn State has always had just athletic freaks at that university, and Zane Durant would be no exception.
Yep.
So with the last tail end of the 7th round, 6th, 7th round, we could probably just throw darts here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do a developmental tackle, maybe some safety, right?
Yeah, we could go with another a pure blocking tight end, or one of my favorite guys that I always take in these 7th round mocks is Carson Ryan with BYU.
Okay.
Again, just because you know that he's going to block his butt off. But
you know me in Big Ten, but Jack Velling is another one.
yeah, so I'm good going. I'm good going. However way you guys want to fill it here.
What are you
We can
feeling,
even make
Brandon?
our buddy David happy and go with Cole Payton if you want with quarterback. or I mean Haynes King. You know.
Yeah.
Where's the actually? I was gonna say, where's the other one that he likes? There's a
Heidenreich.
A Heidenreich, yeah.
Yeah, the running back.
I guess
He might not be here.
Or did he go
Yeah.
just? He might have just went earlier. Now, Nowakowski's another one. You want to talk about like a true root beer vape, Mark, replacement. Nowakowski would be the ultimate Nate Atkins replacement. Yeah. Oh, you know what? That's actually a decent fit. Heidenreich went to Pittsburgh. I was gonna say if you're like in the Tomlin era, Heidenreich would probably fit everything that Tomlin would want.
Yep.
So, there's also another.
Wait, they have him listed as a fullback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's like the most white bias. It's such a white player bias, dude. Like,
That's
he's
insane.
208 pounds. They did the same thing with the dude from Houston, Dean Connors.
Yeah.
I'm like fullback. He's 205 pounds or something. I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I never saw that.
I'm like, I don't know about that.
So, what are you guys kind of feeling here? Are you thinking developmental tackle? Are you feeling?
I'm always down for that developmental tackle, man. Developmental tackle, developmental cornerback.
Okay, I guess the appropriate question to ask, because this has been a theme for the probably soon to be 10 years, is are we confident they will draft a tackle this year?
No.
I mean, they did.
Sure
We
not.
did. Technically, Jennings Dunker is a tackle.
Yeah.
Well, in our
don't
mock,
thi-
yes. But
Yeah. I don't think the Broncos will. But
No, they're not.
maybe they go for.
But
Yeah,
they should.
So-
They should.
they should.
Okay, so we feeling.
Take Cole Payton and I'm just kidding.
I mean,
Take Taylon Green. He's going to turn into Sean Payton's new favorite multi-use weapon.
he would.
I'm actually not even kidding.
He would actually turn into wide receiver 6 on this team. But this team also loves. This team also loves Michael Bandy as well. So they will. George Payton will name drop Michael Bandy in an owners meeting, saying that they're 7 or 8 deep, and then just randomly drop Michael Bandy's name in there.
Yeah.
So what?
Always.
So, what are you guys feeling?
Michael
though?
Bandy must be like his adopted son or something.
I
So what do
like.
you guys- Yeah.
I like. Let's do a tackle here.
Okay. Oh, speaking of
Keegan
one,
Trost. What?
speaking of one that's not going to be there in Keegan Trost. Do we trust it and just not take Keegan, knowing the fact he's not going to be there, and just go with someone else like a Riley?
don't
Let's go with Travis Burke. The Broncos are meeting with him. He's
Okay.
6'9", dude.
So
Six-
some of
Okay.
the-
Okay.
Fully
I have
16.
to say this because I think it's interesting that you brought that up, that they met with him.
interesting.
I
That
feel
means they're not
like
going to draft him.
top 30 visits are so overblown. It's kind of like that same thing you were talking about with like the who won the day, who won free agency, like that level of like top 30 visits. Everyone's like, oh, they love this guy. They're so interested in. They had to bring him in. They had to talk to him. I'm like, I don't think that's true. I think 30 visits are like, if anything, they're almost the opposite, because if you're coming in for a top 30 visit, they have questions. Like, you're not coming in because they love you. If they love you, you're already circled on their board and they're not going to try to talk to you.
Mhm.
They're going to bring you in if they're like, we heard you had some weird character concerns, or you like didn't perform well in your interviews, or you like, or you were a combine snob, you weren't allowed to go, or you weren't invited to the combine, but we think there's something interesting there, so we're going to bring you in, or like local guys. But I feel like the whole thing, like, oh, well, we brought him in for a visit, so we're going to draft him, is just not true. Like,
I did a full video on this,
works.
and I looked back on all the top 30 visits, and we drafted none of them. We brought one of them in as a UDFA, after they were cut by a team. But
you're
yeah,
talking last
it
year,
usually
right?
means we're not going to draft them.
You're referring to last year? Because they didn't do that last year at all. Like,
What?
in terms of the top 30 visits, like bringing people in, and there's like anybody that they had on a top 30 visit, they didn't take it all in the 25.
Oh, it's like the last 2-3 years.
But didn't they do that with Bo? Like, didn't Bo?
No, they never had an official. They didn't use a top visit on. They had like a private workout with them. But in that situation, it's like, you know, they would have probably done a top visit with like every quarterback. But
yeah, this Travis, I'll have to note him. We can take Travis Burke, but I didn't realize that, at least relatively speaking, his grade was that high. Like, that was a pretty stark jump. Okay, so what's your guys' feeling here when our next two picks we have back to back? Is this the trigger where we have where we actually roll with Cole Payton?
There's absolutely no way on God's green earth that Cole Payton is going to be there. Pick 256.
You say that now, but it's, you know, anything can happen. I actually think there's a world he's taken.
I think he's a third quarterback taken in the draft.
I was gonna say there's a world where he's actually taken
he probably goes in the second round.
2 or 3 rounds earlier.
He could.
I wouldn't even. This is crazy. I wouldn't even be surprised if Luke Altmaier is in that same.
Is he the one that's like really undersized?
Yes, 6 feet, 6'2".
Maybe it's not him. I'm thinking someone else.
But all right. So let's.
No, you want to know the perfect. We're not going to do it this year, but you want to know like the perfect strategy for drafting quarterbacks that every team should do, and I don't think every team does it, and we're probably not going to do it. The average starting quarterbacks for an NFL team in an entire NFL season is 2.5. You're going to have 2.5 different starting quarterbacks on average play for you during the season because injuries happen. If there's a guy that you think in round 4 or 5 or 6 that you think can get you through that, like they have something, they can play quarterback in the NFL for a game or two, take him. You might need to play him. If you play him and he looks decent and he gets you through it, someone's going to sign him because everyone else needs a quarterback, and you're going to get a 4th-round pick comp pick back because that's how it goes. So, like, I feel like that's like the get-rich-quick scheme of the NFL in the draft is just take a quarterback that you think could maybe do something. You might have to play him for a couple of games during the season when someone else goes down, and then if he shows out and someone else signs him after a few years and you get that pick or a better pick back, that's like you should do that, but we're not going to do it probably this year. But I think that is something that is could be somewhat exploited. But
so relatively speaking, we're going to get who we want with 56 and 57. So what position groups do you guys want to attack on this one?
I'm good with like guys that can play teams, man. So I'm like a safety.
Like corner. Appease the George Payton drafting a corner idea.
A safety and an edge.
Yeah, there's no way we get through this draft without Sean Payton taking a corner.
Honestly, maybe it just goes back to the Big Ten, but like Xavier in Wankpa, if you will, I like.
Let's do it.
Yeah, go for it. We're getting into some of the names that I'm like.
Sure. Yeah.
If you like him, go
it's
for
more
it.
It's more positions than anything else.
Take the position. Yeah.
More so.
So we got safety. We got safety, and then we could do.
So we got safety.
We just did a safety, so we can do edge or tight end. I'm good with either one.
Also, if we don't take a tight end until pick 257, I'm going crazy. But
there's your Carson Ryan.
There you go. Take him. I love it.
All right. And according to the draft, oh my gosh. Do you see who it said we should take?
It always does. It always does. Yeah.
Emmett Johnson's D-, boys.
And Zane Durant gave us the D+. Both those players ended up really bringing down the overall draft
Yeah,
grade.
if PFF don't like you, you're doing something good.
Yeah. I mean, there was one where it was a complete troll job, and it said I should have taken Ty Simpson at pick 62. But
Yeah, I remember I loved Pat Bryant last year, so I kept drafting him to the Broncos, but I did it in the 4th round because he kept being available, and they would always give me like an F. So we took him in the 3rd. So I'm sure they really loved that one.
I'm sure they really like that one. I'm sure. Did you want to run with your trading up scenario?
Yeah, let's do it.
You want to let's run a quicker one.
Yeah. All right. So I will save that guy. All right. Now, do you want to do it before we actually start the draft?
Or do you want to?
We can do it once we get to 62.
Yeah,
okay.
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right, so click trade, and then
Did you say
like
88?
Yeah, it'd be like pick 88, 89
Somewhere
in
like
that range. Like it could be Chicago.
Mid to late 80s, yeah.
And you said 108 and 111?
Yeah, 489.
Okay.
Cool. Let's see what we got. All right, who's there? Who's there at 62?
So we have Halsey, Malachi Lawrence, Bryce Lance. There is Mike Washington.
Jake Golday and
okay,
Josiah
so-
Trotter went right before this. Wow, that sucks.
Yeah.
What tight ends are there? I see Max.
It's
Clare
probably
is
gonna be
the first
Clare
tight
and
end I've
Roush.
seen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is where it's cool because like I love Roush, and in this scenario,
Yeah.
I mean I don't think it, in real life, but like he'd be available. He should be available at 88. Roughly has a chance to be.
Yeah.
So, let's do
Linebackers.
Yeah.
There's Kyle Lewis.
Kyle Lewis and Anthony Hill. I'm good with either one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That seems somewhat unrealistic.
Anthony Hill.
I think Kyle Lewis might be. Anthony Hill might be a little bit.
Yeah.
At 62 might be
It's a stretch, yeah.
a stretch.
Honestly, it sounds wild.
I'm down with taking Kyle Lewis.
But for it's so as much as we talked about like them falling in love with like athletic, linebackers, it's hard for me to ignore the fact that they might actually still take Kyle Lewis.
Yeah.
So them taking Kyle Lewis would not shock me. You guys down with taking Kyle Lewis?
Let's
do it.
Let's do it.
All right. And then 89, we might have lost out on Roush.
We probably did. Damn.
That's-
My plan didn't work.
He went to
He went to the
Carolina.
Panthers. Cool.
Man,
What about the?
man, it's gonna seem a little rich, but I would take Jolie there actually.
What was
I
the
think I said Jolly when I first said his name, and I profusely apologize to his family because I know that is.
if his parents were tuning into the show, for one, thank you, and two, we apologize for mispronouncing your son's last name. What were you going to say, Mark?
I'm good with Jolie. You can even see like if you want to pull up the D lineman real quick.
Mm.
D lineman, and also I'm curious about running back actually.
No, Rayshon Benny. I do like Rayshon Benny.
Mm-hmm.
Landon Robinson's another one.
Caleb
David
Brockers,
Harris.
interesting.
Dontea Corleone.
Dude, we took David Harris on our last mock draft, and they gave us an F, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Chris McClellan is another one. He met with the
But
Broncos.
he met with the Broncos, so we're not taking him.
I'd say let's do Jolie.
Okay.
Dude, I would be actually so hyped if this is how this went. Lewis and Jolie. Dude, Jolie is
Yeah.
gonna be so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now it's like, all right, so we're good on tight end, we're good on linebacker. So now it's like you can really go anywhere with this pick. We could check out the O lineman, the D lineman,
Safety,
running
even.
back, because we haven't really addressed that. This might be I don't know who's going to be available at running back, but
There's Keelan Black.
Caleb Black.
Hyden.
I'm
There's
good with that.
Hyden, right?
There's your fullback, Heidenreich.
We met with Black.
I'd like Kalen Black.
Yeah, you
I
want
don't know
to?
if we met with him or I
want
know
to
we went to the
talk
pro day for sure.
You want to talk about a guy who runs almost exactly like Isaiah Pacheco. Basically, him and
he's like Kyle Monangai, man. He's Monangai in
Yeah.
this year's draft. I see so many
Yeah.
similarities.
Yep.
I like it. Let's do that.
Kalen Black.
Yeah. So even now, like we don't necessarily have to finish the 7th rounders, but let's do like your picks.
Yeah.
Go look at who he chose. So I mean, you're sacrificing more like depth pieces, but you're getting guys in Lewis and Jolie, and even Kalen Black, but definitely Lewis and Jolie that you're like, oh damn, I can get behind those two guys, which I like. So that's kind of the purpose, like this team.
Right, and then because like we still talk about like those are probably your top 3 biggest needs still, is halfback, tight end, linebacker, and then because like defensive line, it seems like they're trending to the idea of bringing in a veteran defensive lineman, then maybe drafting one. Although I wouldn't rule out, as we did earlier, drafting a defensive lineman later. So this would fit very much into the world of a perfect draft of tight end, linebacker, and halfback with your first 3 picks.
Yep. Yes, I dig it. Maybe we should trade up.
Trade all of our 7ths.
Yeah, they're all worth 1 point. You're not gonna get very
But I
much.
actually do think like I don't know if I see us doing 3 7-round picks. I think 7th-round picks. I think we're probably gonna package this up and move for it a little bit, but we'll see.
Get a punter.
Get a placeholder.
Actually, we need a long snapper.
They did meet with they did have a private workout with the long snapper.
Yeah, that means they're not going to draft him either.
But did you guys actually want to trade up or just kind of have some fun?
What do you mean?
Well, just like you could go get Taylor Green.
Oh yeah, you can take whatever you want with these ones.
Let's just do some crazy stuff here. Take Taylor Green. Okay. Who's there at interior defensive line?
There you go, my guy.
There you go. There's Jordan Vandenberg. He's going to go
right.
at 256. This is perfect.
That dude's got
All right.
yeah.
All right, Mark gets the last one. He's the guest.
The last one. Go to safety and scroll down to Kendall Daniels. He's a 240-pound safety, apparently. Take him. I love that. He's played everywhere.
240
He's not a safety, but it's crazy because you look at his like snap alignment, and he's literally played even on the defensive line, in the box, at safety. Like he's played everywhere. I'm like, that sounds pretty intriguing.
It actually gave us a worse grade on that one than it did on the.
Yeah, I didn't like it. That means we did good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, any final thoughts, just overall, in terms of what we did there, or in general, before we wrap up the show?
I say for me, man, I mean, I like the idea of moving up. I don't think it's a bad idea, especially because I feel like they obviously love the roster. And if there's a guy that they're targeting at a certain position, I mean, really at any position, and they feel like they really like it, something that could make a lot of sense. Or if you wanted to just have as many darts as possible. I'm sure George and Sean are probably fighting about that and going to fight about that the most. But looking forward to the draft, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. The draft is always a good time.
Yeah, I think it's one where it's just like not that we aren't sitting back and enjoying the draft every single year. But like knowing the fact that they were able to get a Jalen Waddle, and it seems like they might be relatively aggressive still, even in this draft, we can just kind of sit back and really just enjoy where this team is going to be going, because there's nowhere to go but up right now when it comes to the Denver Bronco team. We're going to tweet out on the Mainly Broncos Twitter account both these mock drafts. So if you guys are fans and followers of both Marky and myself and Brandon for the Mainly Broncos podcast, and then for what Marky does with Marky Sports Denver, please feel free to let us know on the Twitter machine and everything what you guys feel like. But it's been an absolute blast. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button for Marky Sports Denver, especially, and also the MHRT Network page and Mainly Broncos YouTube page. And we'll see you guys maybe next week for maybe some more Broncos news, or Broncos news in general. Knock on wood. So thank you guys so much. And of course, without further ado, God bless Bo Nix.
Let's go Broncos! God bless Bo Nix!
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flight miles.